Okay, hi there. Today I'm going to be covering circles in pre-calculus. This is going to be a short video. I only got like three problems. So there's two main equations here that I'm looking at for circles. The first one is super easy, and that has to do with if the center of the circle is at 0, 0. If the center of the circle is at 0, 0, you're using this equation where you just say x squared plus y squared equals, the only thing you need to know is the radius, and then you just plug it in, square it, and that's your answer. The second one's got a little bit more to it, where if the center of the circle is not at 0, 0, but instead the center of the circle is at hk, you're using this equation here, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared. So you plug in the center circle coordinates. If it was 2, 1, you'd go x minus 2 squared plus y minus 1 squared, and then whatever the radius is, square that, and that would be your equation. Okay, so you got to know the radius, and you got to know the center of the circle. Those are the two things you need in order to write the equation. So a couple of examples of the kind of problems that you're going to see. Here's the first one, and this is probably the most straightforward kind, where they give you the center of the circle, and they gave you the radius. So I'm just going to plug in take the equation, and then I'm going to plug the values in, okay? So the x coordinate goes next to the x, and the y coordinate goes next to the y, just like you'd expect. The radius is always going to end up positive once you squared it. I mean, it should only be positive to begin with, really, because you don't have negative distance. So this is going to be it. And then the only thing I'm going to do different here is I'm going to clean up this double negative. Okay, x minus negative 6 becomes x plus 6, and y minus 4 stays as it is. Rather than leaving it like 2/3 squared, I'm going to square it out. So I square the numerator. 2 squared is 2. 3 squared is 9, and that's my answer. Okay. So if I was to give you the equation and ask you for the center of the circle, you'd look at these two things right here, and you'd say, geez, the x coordinate is going to be negative because that's a plus. That's the one, these are opposite signs of what you see here. And since this one's minus 4, it would be positive 4. So you could pull the point out of the equation too. All right. So I didn't put one of those examples on this video, but that would be a good question also. And if I asked you what's the radius, you'd take this number over here and take the square root of it, and there would be your radius. Okay. So you can go one direction or the other. And you'll see some of those in your classwork or problems. All right, next one. This one, the center is at 1, negative 1, 2, and the solution point is 0, 0. When they say solution point, it took me a moment for that. That's really just a point on the outside, on the the outside of the circle. In other words, if I draw a quick graph here, that's not good. That's no good either. Having technical difficulties. Yeah. Okay. Ooh, that was ugly. Okay. So I have the circle, and they even told me where the center of it was, right? Negative 1, 2. So that's like here. And then I got this circle that goes around it. Yeah, that's, whew, boy, is that ugly. There. I know that's ugly, but it's not so bad for me. So anyway, I got this point on here that's on the outside of the circle, which means, what I need the radius, okay? Which means I need the length of that segment there, the R segment, the radius, okay? So in order for me to get that, I'm going to plug it into the distance formula to find it, which means, this is going to be x1, this will be y1, y coordinates and x coordinates. And this is 0, 0, so this can be x2, y2, all right? I mean, this one's going to be super easy because the solution point 0, 0, so, you know, I'm going to end up with 1 squared, I should do it out for you if I plug it in, 0 minus negative 1 plus y2 is 0 minus 2 squared. And remember, those are both going to be positive once you square them out. Negative 2 squared is 4, so the distance is root 5, okay? And, and then I'm going to go plugging this into the equation. So I'm going to go x minus something plus y minus something, these are both squared, equals r squared. I'm going to erase that r and pop in parentheses, give it more space. Okay, and let's see. So the center of the circle needs to get dropped into the equation. So the x coordinate is negative 1 and the y coordinate is 2. We just found the radius. So the only thing I'm left to do now is just clean up any double negatives. And the square root of 5 squared is 5, okay? So square root of 5 times square root of 5 is 5, okay? So that's the equation, and you're moving on to the next one. This one, a little trickier. So I got a couple things. They gave me the endpoints of the diameter, and so I definitely need to know, if I drew a quick graph here, you know, they gave me a circle here, and they gave me the diameter. Oh, and this is going to be okay, so I have this lovely diagram over here, which is shows that the endpoints of the diameter would be negative 4, 6, and 7, 2. So I need two things. I need to know what the radius is, and I also need to know the center of the circle, which means to find the radius, I can find the length of the diameter, and then I can divide it by 2, okay? Which, you know, if I know the diameter, then radius is half of it. So I'm going to use the distance formula to calculate the length of the diameter. So d will be the square root of x2 minus x1, 7 minus negative 4 squared plus 2 minus 6 squared, which will be, let me zoom in a little bit, 7 minus negative 4 is 11 squared, plus 4 squared, which is 121 plus 16, which will be the square root of 137. Ho! Pepper in the house. Run. Okay, so the diameter is the square root of 137. So the radius will be half of that, which is the square root of 137 over 2. All right, so I know the radius. I'm just going to leave it like that. Really, I'm not going to go punching that into my calculator at this moment. The next thing I need is I need to know what the center of the circle is, and the center of the circle will be the coordinates of that, you know, which means that's going to be the midpoint of the endpoints of the diameter. So to find the midpoint, you add the x coordinates together, which would be negative 4 plus 7 divided by 2, and add the y coordinates together, which would be 2 plus 6 over 2. Okay, and then simplify, which is going to give me negative 4 plus 7 is 3 over 2, and 2 plus 6 is 8 over 2, which is 4. So this is my center. And now I can plug all this stuff into the equation for the circle equation. So it's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Okay, so r is this 137 over 2, square root of 137 over 2. Midpoint is x coordinate is 3/2. I'm just going to leave it just like that, and y coordinate's 4. Okay. The only thing I'm going to do is square this, the radius out. Okay. I'll square the numerator. Square root of 137 times the square root of 137 is 137, and 2 squared is 4. So that's the only change I'm going to make to this, and that would be the answer. Okay. So that's all I got for this short section here. Okay, I'm going to close it out with a little bit more music. You guys have a great night.